everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reed, and today on this day, I have the pleasure of continuing my series on the phenomenal men of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Today, I have with me Brother Eric King. He's a licensed professional clinical counselor, and with his wife has founded this amazing mental and emotional wellness facility in Ohio that we will get into shortly. But first and foremost, as I always do, sir, I take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a
Thank
gift.
you.
Once we give it, we can't get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time to talk to me. And with that, Mr. King, welcome
Yes.
to the show.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you reaching out and definitely, reaching out to the Sigmas and the Bras. And, I'm always open to talking about pretty much everything, but definitely that because it is such a big part of how I became and who I am right now.
Awesome. Yeah, many people don't have the experience of brotherhood, and it's so
Yeah.
amazing that we have things within our community to kind of surrogate
Yes.
that experience. So let me ask you, how long have you been a Sigma man, and where did you pledge?
Woo! So I pledged at Iota Beta, which is University of Akron. So I crossed at 3/12/98, so March 12th, 98 at 3:33 in the morning. And yes, I do remember. So that was what, 25 years now? And so
Oh,
I am a number five, and I was what they used to call it the head knocker. So I was the guy in the middle, and we had nine others. And so I was the president of the line, as well as the step master, as well as everything else. Plus, I was a little older. I was a little older when I went to college, so it was a good time. It
oh,
was a good time.
it's a good experience. Good experience. Was the rest of the frats on the yard at the time you pledged?
Oh yeah, the only frat that was not there, I believe it was the Omegas. I think everyone else was there, and I think at that time, there were the Omega chapter wasn't there, but they were in Kent,
Okay.
and they were, which was 30 minutes away, 40 minutes away, and so they would drive up.
Oh, okay. Well, explain Akron. I mean, we hear the city, but where's it in
Yeah.
proximity to Cleveland? And
So so the number one person that most people know from Akron is obviously LeBron James, right?
mm-hmm.
So Akron is roughly about 30 to 45 minutes south of Cleveland, Ohio. And Kent, which is Kent State University, is a little bit more south, I think east maybe, than that from Akron. So they were pretty close together,
Okay.
and we would go back and forth and party all the time,
Good
as we
days,
do,
good days, good days.
as
All a
we
part of
did
the
and do. Right, all the fun.
part of the experience, part of the experience. But
Yeah.
let me move on.
Yes. Okay. Okay. It's all good. It's all good.
We might get ourselves into trouble, you know.
It's all good. Hey, I'm there. I'm there with you. Let's just roll with it.
Well, let me go into the professional work that you do. You
Sure.
you are in the mental health field, and quite obvious, you are a Black man,
Yes.
and traditionally, historically,
Mhm.
mental health and Black men have not really been too much of a
Yeah.
what we've seen as a good mix.
Yeah.
What was it that appealed to you about the career made you pursue this particular line of work?
So actually, I started off in the computer field. So I used to program computers. I did all the languages in C++. plus plus. And then it wasn't until I went through about a depression after failing out of school. And at that time, I didn't know what was going on. And so I knew I needed to make money because I also have a 25-year-old son, after I crossed,
Okay.
I got my free time and we have a son. So I had a son and I didn't know what I was going to do. And at that time, I was trying to figure out exactly what profession. So I knew I wanted to either be a teacher, I wanted to study behavioral health. And so because I didn't want to take the teacher's test, I picked behavioral health. And what I found is I was the only one. In many cases, I was the only Black. So I went and got a undergrad in psychology, and it was probably three, Black males, probably out of the whole class. It was probably 10, Black individuals, period, in the profession. Then I went on to get my graduate degree, and it was only two Black males, and I think one Black woman that was in the class. right? And then I went back and got a second graduate degree. And by that time, it had become a little bit more prevalent.
Okay.
But still, I think in my graduating class, it was four black males out of probably 300. 300, well, maybe two. That's a little over, maybe 200 students at that time.
Oh, wow. Akron,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry. I
no,
didn't.
no.
So I failed out of Akron, and then, years later, I went back to Cleveland State. So Cleveland State University. So I got my fun degree at Akron, and I got my my other degrees, the other three from Cleveland State University.
Okay. I guess the puzzlement is because and I might be just having carrying a bias here, a
Got you.
stereotype. Uh, because you're mentioning that you were one of the few black men in the class, but
Yep.
isn't Akron or Cleveland predominantly black?
Oh, definite. Oh, yes.
Okay, so
Yes, Cleveland is the city is predominantly black. I mean, the
yeah.
suburbs are also relatively black. So yes, we got a lot of us out there.
Okay.
But I mean, let's be perfectly candid. The concept of mental health or the concept of emotional wellness, I mean, the idea of fostering male masculinity in a way that allows the individual to emote healthily, to embrace the concept of anger, right? Because anger is simply an emotion, it's not anything that's good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so just because we're predominantly black city didn't mean that they were studying mental health. Let's be honest, once again, that up until recently, the monetary gains within mental health was very minimal. And so, if I'm looking at heading up a family or heading up a household, I'm not going to go somewhere or study a profession that may not provide me with the amount of, you know, um, economic growth that I need. And, that is one of the things in my practice that I actually do is, I help individuals create their own practice, and show them that, you can, make a living in mental health. You don't have to, work in an agency. You don't have to work at a university. You can literally own your own time.
Okay. Okay. Sounds awesome. Now you mentioned something that
Hmm.
I kind of want you to kind of expand on because
Yeah.
within the Black community, we've always struggled with mental health, and then when we do go seek it, sometimes it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
Why is it that culturally we struggle as a Black community to find mental health services that suit us?
Yeah. In other words, we don't have time. We don't have time to be stressed. We don't have time to be this. And the luxury of relaxation is something that is relatively new. I mean, just think about it. I'm not sure how you grow up, but if I was relaxing too much, the elders would be like, you need to be finding something to do. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what is that? That is a generational concept, or not to use the word curse, but generational concept that you need to be doing something so
Mm-hmm.
that someone doesn't bother you. How did that start? That started from slavery. How did that start? How did that get progressed on? It progressed on because we have chosen not to actually embrace the concept of trauma or even the concept of slavery. So yes, so yes, the idea of mental health, comes directly from something that's wrong with you. And in the Black community, because we are so religious, spiritual, and whatever have you, we sought comfort or mental wellness in the church. And so I'm still, working with individuals on is prayer and works that helps. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just pray. And the mental health aspect or the counseling aspect is the work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. And I'm assuming that you have to combine with the churches and say we can teamwork, we can tag team this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little different now because more churches are embracing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a student of the Bible, but I've grew up in a religious family just like most black individuals.
Yeah.
And I can point out in the Old Testament and the New Testament where depression is, where anxiety is, where the
Mm-hmm.
concept of generational curse is, where the concept of hallucination,
True.
delusions, are. So I can point, not, I don't know chapter and verse. I'm gonna be real about that. But I can point where David, after he slept with Bathsheba and recognize what he did, with his prophet and saying, hey, you need to fix this, how he went through, depression, how Saul, had the darkness fall over him. That's depression. And even, times, right before Jesus went up, he was up on the mountain, he was going through, take this cup away from me, right? So it's in the Bible. It's there
All through, all
all
through,
through.
all throughout the Bible. Well, let me ask you this now in 2024, especially with the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you see that, especially Black men, are
Mhm.
becoming more and more open to
Oh,
mental?
yeah.
It is okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have allowed ourselves to be viewed a little bit more complex lately.
Okay.
Letting go of this concept that emotions are either good or bad, or are, supposed to be like this or supposed to be like that. A lot of the large majority of my practice are Black men or men, period. And a lot of times I start off my first like 3 to 5 sessions and literally just breaking down this concept of good and bad emotions, men, what we're taught, rethinking. So it's something within the last, let's see, I've been in mental health for over 20 years. So definitely within the last, 10 years, definitely five, that we've allowed ourselves to be a little bit more complex when it comes to behavioral health or mental health as a whole.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, let me get into the center that you and your wife
Yeah,
have founded, Mental and Emotional Wellness Center of Ohio, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yes, you got it right.
Okay. Now, if I read correctly, it's one of the few Black
Yep.
owned in Ohio.
Yeah, so it's one of the few Black owned in Ohio, right? It definitely in Northeast Ohio. Now, that was when we started. So the practice has been open since 2018. But over the last, 24 months to 36 months, right? We have seen an influx in private practice ownership, which is the beauty part of it.
Okay.
Because it's two parts. One, the more Black and brown individuals we have in private practice sectors allows for easier access. So before you went to community mental health agencies or you went to hospitals, which had exorbitant amount of lists, and
Mm-hmm.
then the individuals that were practicing there had both professional burnout because they were seeing clients 40 hours a week,
Mm-hmm.
36 clients a week. And then they have financial burnout because they weren't paying them, because we don't respect anything that's not tech or what we, right? We don't respect
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. We're medical professionals, but we don't get medical pay. At any case, so now I got off a little bit. That's my
That's
soapbox. That was my soapbox. But now we're seeing a little bit more. And so that was in 2008. And we're seeing a lot more smaller practices, headed up by Black and brown people. But at the time when we opened it up, it was one of the few. And I've had the pleasure of working in at least one other, 100% owned Black practices, during my educational track, as well as, before I opened up this organization. We opened up this organization in 2018.
Now, as I was roaming around the website, I see it has quite a variety of components to it. Could
Yeah.
you kind of run down everything that goes on over there?
Over in this practice,
Yeah.
so first and foremost, we're here to support our clients. And so anyone who wants to actually do the work of mental health, they can come here and do it well. So that's one. Secondly, because, I am a educator by trade, educated by heart is not necessarily by trade anymore. I'm always, attempting to mentor individuals and being entrepreneurs. So I use a term around here called mental health entrepreneurs. So we do that, and so we have individuals here that if you go to our website, you'll see we have men, we have women, we have, it's a Black owned organization. And right now we have a, white woman, but we used to have more. It was a great mix of seeing individuals as early as 4 and as old as 75. And so we do EMDR, which is and I can't, I don't do acronyms. I can't think of it right now, but it's called EMDR. and we do a lot of different, other disciplines
Okay.
within this practice. And each individual here has the opportunity to do the type of work that they want to do.
Okay. Okay. Um, Real quick, you
Yeah,
mentioned that there was a white therapist there or a counselor there at your facility, and
yeah,
it just made me think one
hmm
question that I've always had:
yeah.
um, Do people who are not familiar with our culture properly equipped to give us mental health services? Do you feel?
I do. I feel that anyone has the ability to actually provide mental health services to anyone.
Okay.
With that said, the individual that is treating that person that may not be of their demographic needs to be okay with learning,
Okay.
needs to be okay with being ignorant. And what I mean by ignorant is a lack of knowledge.
Okay.
Because to say that I am only equipped to see Black individuals or men is absurd. I didn't have a holistically, Black male class or a Black class. I had mental health classes. With that said, I've seen trans individuals. I'm not trans. I've seen individuals
Okay.
in, throuple marriages.
Gotcha.
So I've seen, a wide variety, white women. I've seen a wide variety of individuals. The key part is I allow myself to learn and not to be an authority. I'm not the most important person in the room. They are. I'm just a guide.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Good points. Good points. Now, one of the components that I see that you do over there is I was really excited about it because it kind of fits into what I do here.
Okay.
Is that you have a support network called Stronger Together?
Yeah. So a couple years ago, and it took off during the pandemic, we had a support group for men called Strongest Together. And we used to get men virtually from all over the world, actually. With that, when I expanded this practice or grew it, I had to let it go. But that is something that is coming back because we saw a large amount of love, right? A large amount of connectivity. And, with the men that are here now, the Black males that are here now, we're constantly talking about what else can we offer, right? What else can we do? And so, although that is not going specifically anymore, I do have a radio show that I do every Wednesday. And I don't talk, it's not a mental health show. It's just me. It's actually my therapy to where I go and I just talk to whomever and everybody. And so this week, or tomorrow, what's today? Today, Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Valentine's Day, I'll have my brother's keeper. So I got three men that are on the show. And last year, I started therapy last year, and what came out was that I thought I had an issue with my mom, right? So look at it from that standpoint. I actually had an issue with men because I found myself becoming quite uneasy around him. I never knew why growing up, and it, from a standpoint of a, bigger picture, there were more harm that came from men into different women. And
Mm-hmm.
so once I found that out, last year I went out and I purposefully every Wednesday would meet with a different Black male just to, talk and, network. And that turned into friends. And so three of the individuals that are on the show tomorrow are, one of those individuals I met along this trek of growth and connectivity.
Awesome. Just a suggestion, maybe you could
Yeah.
expand this out to the Black community as whole, just kind of intentionally interacting with each other
Hmm.
to heal some of that. But that's another sidetrack issue there. I see that you recently or about to give a master class
Yeah.
for mental health. So my question is, what do you've got your degree, and
Yes.
I'm going to be rich and famous now, but what areas are they struggling with when it comes to?
Yeah, yeah. So this masterclass, so the beauty of it all is I did the work, right? So I've been in mental health for 20 years. I did the education side, right? I've taught, I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in community mental health hospitals, I've worked in other people's private practices, right? So I did the work.
Okay.
And so in doing the work, I have the luxury of doing pretty much anything in mental health that I choose to do. And so whether I'm on the radio talking and connecting with those that are my guests, or doing this master class, which is it's really a 5-step program that I created in order to create your own private practice. So this masterclass that is actually Friday provides me the opportunity to pour into other mental health providers and who want to go create their own private practice. And so it's a masterclass with a 5-step program that I created. Now the problem is we didn't have any type of business classes, and because we didn't have business classes, a lot of people don't know when you graduate with and you attain your license, you can go out and hang your own shingle and collect insurances. So, it's sexy to go out and be a self-pay, in all cash, but not everybody can do that in all demographics. And
Mhm.
so accepting insurance is what we have to do. So you need to acquire a different skill. And that's what this master class is. So that's that. And then I get a chance to see any and every type of, client that enters my door. So I have the opportunity to pretty much do anything that I want. Thank goodness.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
yeah, that's the master class on mental health entrepreneurship.
Okay, so once you got your paper, how are we gonna make some money with this piece of paper that I have?
Exactly.
Okay. Now you just mentioned insurance, and
Yes.
without dating myself, I remember decades and decades and decades ago when it came to health insurance providers, mental health
Mm-mm.
services. At best, maybe you could get 2 sessions, and then that was it, or something like that. So here in 2024, are health insurance providers more liberal with giving the financial resources so people can seek the care that they need?
Yeah, so right now, so every insurance carrier has a behavioral health component. And you're right. When I was younger, it wasn't there. All right. So, and it wasn't even the concept of payment. It wasn't the concept of payment. It was the concept of usability.
Okay.
So, in other words, people didn't view mental health from the level that they view it now. And so, because managed care, insurance companies, they're about money. They noticed, right? They noticed a lot of things. And so they began to add behavioral health components. Now, I mean, if I can stand on my soapbox, we need more lobbyists to increase the amount of reimbursement, right? So outside my window, out that window is Cleveland Clinic Foundation. I'm not sure if you heard of it. One of the leading institutions in medicine in not only Northeast Ohio but in the world. They have hospitals in Dubai. They had hospitals all over, right? This is Cleveland Clinic Foundation. If I was to work for them, my reimbursement will be higher. But since I work for myself, my reimbursement is stuck at the level that they deem that the insurance company deems me as worthy. So what's the difference? There is no difference. It's an institutional difference. That's Cleveland Clinic. This is Mental and Emotional Wellness Centers of Ohio. Over there, I'm worth stack billing, plus a couple hundred. Over here, I'm worth, in some cases, less than $75. So we need more individuals, lobbying or advocating for reimbursement for those that are providing this life or death
Yes.
service. And so we're not, that's my, where, I can do this all day with soapbox, but yes, insurance companies have come around, but we need a higher reimbursement, especially for those, solo practitioners or
Yeah.
those group practitioners that are not connected to hospitals on purpose.
Oh. So is it the pay difference because you're considered more of a consultant versus like an actual staff? I mean, I'm just trying to understand why the
Yeah,
difference.
different rules. Let's be perfectly candid. The medical facility or medical industry has more leeway, has more, eyeballs. So if you sign up for a Medical Mutual or Aetna or Cigna, you sign that up with a hospital, they want that money, right? They want those individuals. So the reimbursement and the stack billing, it's not necessarily just simply the session, but it's the ability to stack bill, right? So
Okay.
in the private practice,
Okay.
there's no stacking bill, right? Over there, you can charge a facility fee. Over here, I can't charge a facility fee.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. All right. Makes sense. Makes sense. All righty. Um, well, So we
We
okay.
didn't we didn't went so many different ways. We didn't went to
Yeah.
economics. We didn't went to radio. We didn't went to a lot of different places.
Okay, but yeah, so let me stick with this for a minute. So
Yeah.
we need some lobbyists. So
Yes.
what has to happen to see this change? Because we need to get folks paid.
Yeah, which is interesting. It starts with the government first. So if the
Mm-hmm.
government raises their reimbursement, which they did this year, they raised their reimbursement. At one point, governmental insurances was the lowest reimbursers. So now that the government has raised the reimbursement for mental health, that means private industries are going to have to do it as well, which is a plus. So
Mm-hmm.
you ask what can be done. One, what needs to be done is more people need to see mental health as a business, not simply as a altruistic, meaning if you go and you have a copay, pay your copay. You pay your hairdresser. I don't have any hair anymore. You pay your nail tech, right?
Yeah.
So we are a medical service, a life and death medical service. So from the client standpoint, pay your copay. From
Okay.
the industry standpoint, increase the rate of or the amount of reimbursement. There are insurance companies that do an extraordinary job of slowing down the reimbursement process that hinders the amount of money that goes back to the pockets of the people that do the service. Yeah,
Well. I'll
yeah,
be darned.
yes. And it's not about being nefarious. Let's be real. It's
Mm-hmm.
about money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've paid, like I said, I have 3 degrees. There
Mm-hmm.
has been a lot of money paid for me to be this individual sitting in this office doing this thing, which means that yes, I'm going to help you manage and understand the concept of why your life or your finances are tied to some type of trauma or depression, or why spending is something that you do when you are upset. I'm going to do that because that's the passion. That's what I do. But also pay the copay,
Yeah.
pay your bill.
I have a light bill too.
Right.
I
Right, pay your bill. And
mm-hmm.
it's and because we are such connected to our clients, delve so deep in, there's a duality in there. There are some clinicians that really feel bad about asking their clients for, reimbursement or for payment. And I work with them on that. But then it's also is, a level from the client side was this is what you're supposed to do. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also supposed to live as well.
That's right. That's right. I have children I have to feed,
I
and
get all that.
I might have mortgage and all of that stuff.
This is not a
Um,
hobby.
yeah. Well, there's a particular demographic of population that
Hmm.
across America we're struggling with that needs mental health services, and
Hmm.
we're talking about insurance. I'm trying to figure out how do we pay for them to get the medical care that they mental health care that they need, and that's the homeless population.
Yeah. So
How does this work for them?
so there's a fair amount of organizations that have that work directly with I'm thinking of the mission downtown. You know, so what is the issue? First issue is pay the person that is doing this work. So that's one. Because they are a nonprofit organization, they got to jump through tons of hoops just to keep the lights on, right? And so because they're jumping through hoops, keep the lights on, to keep the beds open, to feed the individuals, then they got to jump through more hoops to provide, mental health care. So the first thing is pay. Second thing is find a level of protection for those individuals. If you pay an individual a livable wage that is doing this job, right? So and that is connected to the amount of education. So you're doing that, you're going to have more individuals that are going to be a part of your organization.
Okay.
Once you get more individuals, provide a safety mechanism based off of how to ensure that this person is, able, to actually see the people that they want to see. And thirdly, have a wellness, right? Because the work that I do is heavy. The
Mm-hmm.
work that many of us do is heavy. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of times, we, in some organizations, the concept of work-life balance, especially for mental health individuals or any service individual that deals with weight, whether we're talking EMTs, trauma people, the organization does not provide them with a work-life balance. Understanding that this is heavy and we need to be transitional. But that third piece starts off with the culture of the organization. All of this is about culture. But if the organization has a culture of these are your 10 people, you're not going to get any more. And we're going to ensure that we provide all of the services that is needed for you to service the homeless or whatever population we're talking about. That's an organizational thing. That's a culture thing. And so we have to be mindful of the amount that we pay, the safety of those individuals, and the culture of those individuals, because that's simply what it is. You go from a nonprofit model, that's who handles this, not a for-profit model, but a nonprofit model. And we have tons of money to give to places, right? Billions of dollars overseas. Where's the billions of dollars to help with the mental health of the individuals who are a high level of what? Veterans, homeless veterans. So they protected the country, but they come back worse. And so they don't have a house. So that's what I would say.
Okay. You've just kind of given us a quick introduction to the mental and emotional wellness field. For the individual who might be looking at this and saying this is something I might want to do, what would you tell them to seriously think about before they pursue this line of work?
This is the thing. Whether I'm talking about someone who has a license or whether I'm talking about a person that is just looking in, what is your end goal? And not what you want to do, where do you want to end up? And so the very first thing that I tell someone is how long do you want to do this for? You want 20 years, 30 years? Think about that. Have that earmark and then work your way backwards. The next thing I talk about is don't attempt to counsel you. In other words, a lot of times people get into mental health because of a struggle that they personally had. And what happens is those individuals pour everything into a population, pour everything into a niche. And then what happens? They become burnt out, right? They become burnt out and then they no longer are able to do the thing. So, the second thing I would tell them is, don't attempt to counsel you. You cannot counsel you. And the last thing that I would tell them, is have a plan, have a structural plan. What we're talking about finances, we're talking about length of time, we're talking about, when you want to see clients, how often you want to see clients, talk to somebody, do all these things. Now, oddly enough, I talk about this in my master classes as well, but you got to have a plan. And so if somebody that, really wants to do this work, know you're in, don't attempt to counsel yourself and have a plan.
Great. And then I like that you put out there that you have your own person that you talk to, and a lot of people don't understand.
Oh yeah,
they'll say like, well, if you're the person that we talk to, why do you have your person? But hey, a hairdresser has a hairdresser, so
you got that right. A nail tech has a nail tech, a massager have a masseuse.
So hey, I got to have my own person. I got all this stuff I got to deal with. I need to pour this someplace else. So
you got that right.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you one more question before I ask my random question.
Go for it.
And it's because I see that part of the work that you do is you offer premarital counseling to folks about to embark in marriage.
Yeah.
And I'm asking this question because Black women and Black men have always, butted heads. This is not new. But in 2024, it seems like we are just raging at each other. And I just looked up one day and like, whoa, what happened? So, and you're married and been married for a while. So my question is, in combination of all of this, what disillusions are couples walking into this whole concept of marriage about? Like, why is it just
So let me first say this is, what we're seeing is not new. The only thing that's different is everyone has a recorder to actually have a moment to talk about it or show it or whatever. None of this is new. Okay. We've been having, the actual divorce rate has been creeping up since the early 50s and 60s, right? So this is not new. So what is going on if we're just talking about the Black community? What we're seeing is some of the old demons coming back to roost, right? The concept of what did it look like to have a healthy home, and that concept of healthy is a bit interesting, right? So you don't need to, if you want to be married, you don't need to have grown up in a two parent, or a two parent household. That's not it. But you have, needed to have some type of respect for self and some type of respect for this concept of union. And so
Mm.
when I'm working with individuals in premarital counseling, I'm working with what is your definition of a union? And we
Awesome.
start there, right? So I asked them, name a healthy relationship that you saw. And what is a healthy relationship? Well, no arguing, no physical abuse, no sexual abuse, right? These
Mm.
are healthy relationships. And quite a few of us, the only time that we saw that or seen that is on TV. Now, in my history, I grew up in a single parent household, right? And I was the only child. I saw a healthy relationship for my best friend, nobody else, right?
Okay.
I saw, right? We had the Cosby Show, we had all that. So I saw from there. Now, when I got married, I had gone through a purposeful journey of self-awareness. So that was something that I did on my own
Great.
before I decided to get married. So nothing that is going on is new. It's just that we're recording it now. The only thing that has changed is this concept of respect for union, and even I'm not even sure where this came from. This idea that being married is white. When we were slaves, we wanted to get married because it was a connectivity. So how did it go? How did it go from people were getting killed and hung and shipped off, right? Sold off for things that such as marriage. And now those same people who are descendants of those people are saying, "Oh,
Yes.
that's what white people do. Oh, it's a prison." It's not a prison. There are
No.
three there when you are in a marital relationship, you have to have respect for yourself, respect for the other person, and respect for the concept of marriage. And whatever religious discipline or spiritual discipline, you have a respect for that too. What we find is an individual lacks respect for themselves and or the concept of a union, which is the very first start of the downhill. So that's usually what happened because when you lose respect for the union, you pretty much you're gonna do everything. There's always been, families or side chicks across town. That's not
Mm.
anything new. Come on
Papa
now.
was a rolling
Right.
stone.
Right. So, I think August Wilson wrote Fences, right? We got
Mm.
Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
That was years ago. Come on. So if
Yeah.
you watch the movie or if you ever caught the play, he had a woman on the other side, right? He had
Hmm.
his household. So this concept of Rolling Stone, right? Like you said, right? The Temptations. This is nothing new. This isn't new. Side chick isn't new. Side dude isn't new. Union. None of this is new. It's just being shown more. And
Sure.
so, in working with premarital counseling, we want to make sure that we understand the definitions of unions or relationships or marriage or whatever they call it.
Whatever they call it.
Because I've worked with throuples as well, right? So we have three individuals that decide to be married. I've worked with them too. It's all
Okay.
the same.
But it all boils down to still you have to have respect for the union.
Right. Right. That's
Whatever it
it.
is for you, but we have to have respect for union.
Right, right.
All right. Well, sir, let me ask you my random question, and then I'm going
Okay.
to ask you to tell us how we connect with you if we want
Sure.
to peek in on what you and the wife are doing in Ohio.
Right, right.
Let's
All right,
see.
let's see what we got.
Let's
Random
see what we
questions.
got here. Well, because you said you grew up in a single home, so I'm gonna say
Yep.
mom. What is the most useful thing your mom or dad has taught you? So we'll say mom.
The most useful thing that my mom and dad taught me, resiliency. Growing up in a single family household, we didn't have single parent household. We had roaches at one time. We had lights off. We had, I didn't have a Christmas, at one point, one time. So resiliency and grit, is the thing that I was really taught to where, when I got asked to leave Akron, right?
So nicely put.
I got asked to leave Akron. I mean, I didn't fall apart, although I went through depression. And even when I was asked to leave, I had to I had the concept of, all right, so you got to do something. What you
Get it
gonna do,
done. Get a
right?
plan together.
I had to make a plan. And so I think that once again came from my mom because, I remember when I was in middle school, I believe she got laid off from her job, and I saw her put together a business, right? So I got entrepreneurship classes just watching, right? And I'm teaching my kids. I have three kids, and teaching them what it means to own your own business or own whatever. And it's not just simply, it's not about everybody needs to go, own their own business. If you work for someone as well, you can own your own time and
Yeah.
own your own productivity,
Yeah.
right? What you produce, it's not about solely, I got to go be separate from somebody. No, this place where you work is also your business as well, you
Yeah.
know, and so treat it in that such, you never know what happens. Amazing thing happens when you look at life that way.
Awesome, awesome. And I think that's one of the things that, especially with this culture today, where everybody wants to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Some of us are 9 to 5ers, but you
Yep.
can be the best 9 to 5er there is.
Amazingly, I mean, not everybody has to go to college. Not everybody has to. I mean, no, and this is where it comes down to know thyself, right? So that's the old art of war
Yeah.
type thing. If you saw my office, I got a bunch of books. So you got to know thyself, and some people just don't do well in college. Now, I'm not sure if I would have went back to school if I hadn't chose the profession, but I knew I wanted to either be a teacher or a mental health provider. I wanted to do the thing. I didn't want to be a coach, right? I didn't want to be a consultant, right? I didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to actually be a licensed professional to where it had the weight and the foundation under my name. So I knew that I had to go to school, and I was cool with that.
Okay.
Hence is the reason why I'm also cool with saying, you're doing a great job, and I see that you're progressing. That'll be $75. You want me to use the same credit card?
That's that mama entrepreneur thing right there. We got them lessons young.
We're like, in that you just say it in one complete line. That's it. And when you say it in that one complete line, hey, it's to understand that I'm not your friend. I'm your support.
This is I'm providing a service.
Right. I'm your support. I'm your guide. You are the most important person, but I'm not your friend. I'm your support. And when you say it like that, while giving, good service, let's be perfectly honest,
Yeah.
as long as you're giving good service, everything else is copacetic, as they used to say back in the day.
Back in the day, you aging yourself too.
Right, right.
All righty, dear. Well, tell us the website and all that stuff, how
Yes.
to connect with you, and the podcast, because I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
yes. So you can connect with me. So our website is so MEWCOHIO.com. You can find us there. You can also find me on IG at Talk to E King, right? So that's Talk, the number two, E King on IG. And our phone number, if you ever want to reach me, is 216-282-3733. And then my email, oof, this is a lot. Eric, ERICKING at MEWCOHIO.com. And that's it. And so the radio show is on Wednesdays. And you can find the radio show on Wednesdays at 12, from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard, because you're in California, at wovu.org. And so you can hit listen live. I haven't taken everything and moved over to YouTube yet, but it's coming. It's coming. So I just give it a little time.
All right. And you and the wife, you guys are currently in Ohio, but you
Yes.
and the wife will be expanding. I don't know what's next. My geography's off now. So what state is next to you?
So what's interesting is not necessarily solely about states, because we have now what's called the counseling compact. Wherever the counseling compact goes, once it becomes enacted, we pretty much can do virtual counseling, or I can go set up a organization in any state. So PA, Georgia, Florida. I think California also, maybe Texas. I would have to look at it, but the the key part is make ensuring that individuals that want to do this business, can open up just like, when you go into a hospital, there are times when a doctor comes out of town and they get privileges,
Mm-hmm.
at that hospital. I can't do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go to Texas and somebody is having a mental health crisis and have privilege at a hospital and treat that individual. I can't do that.
But you might be the best. Okay. Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe.
Anyways, okay, we'll
Right.
talk for another 40 minutes.
Right.
Anyways, sir, I appreciate you and your
No
time. I
problem.
appreciate the work that you're doing, the insights you gave.
Thank you.
I'm just so phenomenal. And I was kind of smiling at myself when you said back in your younger days, you
Right.
remember times when the power was off. The
Right.
kids today, they panic when the Wi-Fi goes down. They would never understand the struggles that.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, because there were times we had no heat, had no power. I mean, it was serious,
That
and
bologna sandwich with the cut the little things in
bologna
there.
sandwich or sometimes a frosting sandwich. I've had a sugar sandwich before. I've had that.
Bread and butter
Right.
sandwich.
Bread and butter. So yeah, so my wife and I, we laugh about some of the things that our kids
Just
will
never
never
experience.
experience. And it's
Never.
not just simply they'll never experience because their parents have, taken, the blessings that God provided and flourished, but also the kids these days, they don't get that.
Mm-mm, not at all. They're walking around with $1,200 phones. They would just
Right, right, right,
never
right,
understand.
right. So
Well,
yes.
it's wonderful. Well, sir, I truly appreciate you. I know I don't have to say this, but just keep on doing what you're
Thank
doing.
you.
Just kudos from little old me.
I
And
appreciate that.
I'm keep my eye on. I expect big things coming. More and more big things coming.
I hope, I pray so. Thank you so much.
That's it. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reed, and I will see everybody next time.